When you're scrolling through cheap drum modules on a budget site, it's easy to convince yourself that a $200 starter kit will be enough to keep the hobby alive. I've been there, and the disappointment that follows: flimsy pads, laggy triggers, and a sound engine that feels more like a ringtone than a real kit can turn a promising pastime into a frustrating chore. The real question is whether spending a little more on a reputable brand actually saves you from that regret, or if you're just paying a premium for a name. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Roland TD07KV sits in that middle ground where the price is higher than the entry-level bundles, but the features are aimed at serious hobbyists and even semi-pro giggers who need a kit that won't scream in an apartment building at 2 a.m. What makes it different from the cheap and cheerful options is the dual-ply mesh heads. Those heads are built to feel close to a real acoustic snare or tom, giving you that rebound you need when you're practicing paradiddles or working on speed bursts. In practice, I found that the pads respond to light ghost notes the way a traditional drum would, which is something you rarely get with rubber skin pads that either bounce too much or not enough. If you're someone who lives in a shared space, the ultra-quiet claim isn't just marketing fluff. I set the kit up on a thin rug in my living room, cranked the volume to a realistic practice level, and my downstairs neighbor didn't hear a thing. That low-noise operation is a direct result of the mesh construction and the fact that the trigger circuitry is tuned to ignore ambient vibrations. For a musician who needs to rehearse late at night without risking a complaint, that's a practical strength you can't overlook. On the flip side, the kit's compact footprint does come with a trade-off. The 8-inch snare pad is smaller than a typical 14-inch acoustic snare, which means your hand positioning will feel a bit tighter, especially if you're used to a larger surface area for rim shots. I noticed a slight learning curve when trying to execute a full cymbal choke on the snare. The rim zone is a little less forgiving than a bigger pad would be. If you're a player who relies heavily on intricate rim work, you might need a few weeks to adapt. Another area where the TD07KV shows its value is the module itself. Roland packs 25 preset kits and the ability to store 25 user kits, along with 143 individual instrument sounds. That variety means you can jump from a classic rock kit to a jazz brush setting without replugging cables or buying extra software. I used the built-in V-Edit feature to tweak the snare's pitch and decay for a specific pop track I was recording, and the changes were audible in the final mix. The module also supports Bluetooth audio and MIDI, so you can stream backing tracks from your phone while you play, or send MIDI data straight into a DAW without a separate interface. In a real-world scenario, I recorded a full drum track for a home studio project by connecting the kit via USB, and the latency was negligible, something that matters if you're layering drums over other instruments. That said, the deep editing tools can be a double-edged sword. The menu system isn't as intuitive as some newer kits that rely on touchscreen navigation. You'll spend some time digging through submenus to adjust EQ or add multi-effects, which can feel cumbersome if you're looking for a quick sound swap during a jam session. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting that the learning curve isn't just on the pads. The software side demands a bit of patience. Who should consider the TD07KV? If you're a bedroom drummer who wants a realistic feel without sacrificing volume control, or a gigging musician who needs a portable solution that can be plugged into a PA system without causing a neighbor complaint, this kit checks the boxes. It also makes sense for educators who need a reliable, low-noise instrument for lesson rooms where multiple students are trying out different parts simultaneously. The inclusion of 40 free melodic loops is a nice touch for teachers wanting to quickly set up practice tracks. Who might skip it? If you're looking for a pure plug-and-play experience with a touchscreen interface and a larger snare pad, you'll probably feel restrained. Likewise, if your budget is tighter than $800, you'll find cheaper kits that at least get the job done for basic practice, albeit with the compromises we talked about earlier. Finally, drummers whose style leans heavily on extended rim techniques or who need a larger snare surface for certain genres might prefer a kit with a bigger pad, even if that means spending a little extra. In everyday use, the kit's strengths show up in consistency. I've taken it on tour to 3 small venues, and the pads have held up without any dead zones or trigger failures. The mesh heads don't wear out after a handful of gigs, they just get